word zinger kind of thing that made it clear that, you know, the Unitarian Universalist religious community isn't all sweetness and light, isn't all, you know, go out into the world in peace as it likes to pretend to be. So that, as I said, that unsafe sect picket sign did hint at clergy sexual misconduct. As I said, it was a play on the term safe sex. So I was suggesting that there was some unsafe sex going on in the Unitarian Church of, not Montreal, because I wasn't addressing clergy sexual misconduct here. Doesn't mean there hasn't been any, or won't be any, or wasn't, you know, years in the past. But that sign, you know, sect refers to the whole religion. It refers to all of Unitarian Universalism. I was saying Unitarian Universalism is not as safe as it pretends to be. And it uses the term safe congregations to, you know, try to bamboozle people into believing that it actually does handle clergy sexual misconduct in a proper manner, which in fact it does not do, or rarely does. More often than not, the clergy abuse is dismissed, swept aside, ignored, and so on. Yes, there have been a few cases where ministers have been disciplined, but when you compare the number of cases, the comparatively small number of cases where ministers have actually faced discipline for clergy sexual misconduct within the church, to the number of credible accusations that have been made, it's a tiny percentage.
What's that about?
Oh, a whole bunch of things, but the prejudice and bigotry is about the anti-religious intolerance and bigotry that goes on, not only in this church, but...
This is my first time here.
Right.
So people from this church are arguing against people who don't want to have to be religious?
Actually, essentially, what it does come down to, it's the other way around.
I've only got a minute.
It's the other way around. I and other people have been subjected to prejudice and bigotry because we do believe in God.
Oh, and you think people who go here don't?
I know for a lot of them don't. The last minister didn't. I don't think Reverend Diane Rollett's an atheist.
I know my mom believes in God.
Right. Well, anyway, this particular sign addresses the anti-religious intolerance and bigotry of the atheists within the church. Okay. But there's more to it than that.
Okay. But I don't know of any atheists who go here, so that's interesting.
Well, Reverend Diane Rollett, I'm quite sure will tell you she is one if you ask.
I don't feel that way myself.
That's fine, but I'm just telling you that that's only one of the issues, but go, just Google them after. So this fellow going into the church, you know, saw my picket sign which says Unitarian prejudice and bigotry sucks you asterisk you, and entered into a free and responsible search for the truth and meaning of my picket sign. And so I told him what it was about. I could have told him about all the other issues, but because he had seen that picket sign, because he was concerned about, you know, my claim that Unitarian Universalists have a certain amount of prejudice and bigotry within the religious community, you know, I addressed that issue since that was his concern. And yeah, it looks like even though I was late to arrive, a fair number of people are also late to arrive. So a fair number of people entering the church have seen my picket signs today, so we're off to a pretty good start. Not sure how many would have seen them earlier. Okay, let's see what else he saw. Okay, he probably saw the Censor and Suppress Critics sign there. Well, there's somebody going in now. A familiar face, actually. Not a first-timer. But yes, you use Censor and Suppress Critics. Well, we've been talking about that. Not sure what that guy's singing or chanting. Anyhow, so I think you know, I almost ditched protesting today here. I would have done some online stuff, and in fact I already did some online stuff earlier today, but I came close to not bothering protesting, you know, in the flesh in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal today, but because I'd been a bit lax in November, Basically hardly protested at all in November, maybe one Sunday in the whole month. I thought, I better put in an appearance today, so I did. I didn't have a whole lot on my plate anyway. There wasn't anything particularly better to do. My choice was really, do I stay on Twitter and tweet away to the greater Unitarian Universalist religious community, or do I remind Montreal Unitarian Universalists that they have some problems that they need to deal with? And I decided that it would be worthwhile to protest, as I said, in real life out in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal today, and I'm glad I did. I already had one interesting interaction with somebody entering the church, and this is often the case. It's always nice, when somebody who sees my protest engages in what Unitarian Universalists would call a free and responsible search for the truth and meaning of my picket signs, or chalk slogans for that matter, which I don't have any today. So things have changed here a bit. There used to be bushes all around the church, and the only point of entry is where that woman and child are going in the front steps. This entrance here did not exist. It was basically bushes all the way. So they've made some changes. It's sort of more accessible and also more visible. So the bushes weren't that high, but they did sort of obscure the view of the church. It looks like a bit of a mess. What's their garden really is just dirt at the moment. It's really not looking pretty. But then maybe that says a thing or two about the church too. In fact, I'm actually surprised at how unkempt the exterior garden, in quotation marks, of the church has been for many, many years. It's really been pretty bedraggled looking, litter around and so on. It's amazing how little Unitarian Universalists at Montreal's Unitarian Church of Montreal cared about keeping their grounds clean. They've certainly tried very, very hard to get rid of me and my protest, but they are less concerned about picking up litter and so on in front of it. I mean, there's not much right now. There's a few little bits and pieces, but I've seen this many, many times where there's been all kinds of litter and fallen branches and so on and so forth. So anyhow, we're just going off on a little tangent, but on the other hand, this lax attitude towards upkeep of the church in both physical terms and also in terms of living up to your principles and so on is very indicative of Unitarian Universalism, not only here at the Unitarian Church of Montreal, but throughout the Unitarian Universalist religious community. I'm not saying there aren't some very well-kept churches and so on, but there's definitely an element of unkemptness in many Unitarian churches, lack of caring about their appearance, lack of caring about their visibility. Even many Unitarian churches, this is they're hidden behind huge hedges and so on. They're very, very hard to find. I remember years ago I went to a Unitarian church in Augusta, Georgia, and I was told where it was. I drove out there. I saw this huge, big red brick church, lots of cars in the parking lot, and really very well kept church, modern and everything. I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. So I drove into the parking lot, and then I noticed that pretty well all of the attendees of this church were African Americans. Hardly any white people. I thought, I'm wondering about this. This doesn't look like your typical Unitarian church to me, because most Unitarian churches are populated by majority of, upper middle class white people, with the occasional token African American, token Indian, and so on, token Latino, just a few little sprinkling of people of color, so they can claim to be multicultural and multiracial and so on, when in fact they're 90% white, if not 97% white, if not 100% white. So yeah, this took me aback. I said, no, this can't be the Unitarian Church. And so I asked, and no, of course, it turned out to be a Baptist church. And I asked, well, where's the Unitarian Church? They had no idea where the Unitarian Church was. So I drove around trying to find it, and finally somebody told me where it was, and most ironically, it was right across the street from that big Baptist church on the other side of the street, on the, let me see now, I think, trying to remember, I can't tell you exactly which direction corner it was, but it was literally on the corner facing the Baptist church, the huge Baptist church, only it was surrounded by high sort of cypress bushes, and the sign was barely visible. It was like almost like a secret secret hideout kind of thing. And what was interesting is the Baptists, at least the ones I talked to, didn't even know it was there. They didn't even know that their big Baptist church was right across the street from this tiny, declining little, 99% white Unitarian church. So that's a little parable for Unitarian Universalists to think about. Yeah, it looks like we're coming up to the end of the first half hour of video and monologue here. So we will start a fresh reel soon, but we've had a pretty good little first half hour of protesting here in terms of people seeing the signs. So I'm happy. Yep, we got about 30 seconds worth of in quotation marks, videotape left. Church to the Image Tarnishing Minister, originally referring to Reverend Ray Drennan, but it